This is Elizabeth Viljoen. I'm the Public Relations Manager for Toastmasters New Zealand North, District 112. And today I'm interviewing one of our local Toastmasters, James Hutchinson. And James took part in a TEDx talk, and that's why I'm interviewing him today, to hear more about that. So James, tell me, to which club in Toastmasters do you belong?
Hi Elizabeth, kia ora. Great to talk with you this morning. And I am part of the First Impressions Toastmasters Club here in Hamilton, Aotearoa, New Zealand. And we meet every Thursday morning from 7 a.m. till 8:30, and of course followed by coffee, which is always important at that time of the morning.
I remember that fondly. It was the very first club that I went to when I came to New Zealand. Tell me, how long have you been a Toastmaster and why did you join Toastmasters?
Well, I've been a Toastmaster for about 3 years now, and one of the things that motivated me to join Toastmasters was I got appointed to a new role, which is my current role as CEO of Kiwi Innovation Network, or KiwiNet for short, here in Hamilton. And I recognised that in order to really be able to take this new opportunity by the horns, it was important for me to develop my public speaking and communication skills. And it wasn't that I'd never done public speaking in the past. I've had quite a lot of experience in speaking, but it was more recognising that communication is such an important part of everything that we do. So not only as part of my role, I'm getting up and I'm speaking occasionally and giving presentations and things like that, the skills that we learn through Toastmasters, we use every day. So it's a bit like going to the gym. We go to the gym to keep physically fit and look after our wellness in terms of our body, etc. That Toastmasters is about the gym for our communication skills and doing it in a safe environment. And you know, every day is a Toastmasters conversation, whether we're having a meeting with our colleagues, whether we're public speaking and giving a presentation, or whether we're trying to influence someone that we're speaking with on the phone. You know, we're using these skills every day. And so I recognised that for me to kind of step up in terms of where I'm at with my career, Toastmasters was going to be an important part of that journey. But as I've been involved in Toastmasters, I've really come to realise that it is equally about communication as it is about leadership. So the beautiful thing about the projects and all the things that we do through our roles in the club and on the committees and helping our other Toastmasters is it's two sides of the coin. One side is about developing our communication skills, and the other side is about developing leadership skills. And those are the two things that I've really got out of my Toastmasters journey these past 3 years.
Yes. So you took your knowledge in your career and you took part in the TEDx talk because you wanted to help people to understand the power of science and how it can transform lives. So tell me, what is the message that you want other people to hear?
Yeah, well, for me, the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning is the genuine belief that science, and New Zealand science in particular, has the power to transform lives and change the world. Now, that's quite a lofty ambition, but what essentially that means is that my work at KiwiNet is we help to take New Zealand science and essentially turn it into useful stuff. So we're taking all of the great research that's going on in our universities and research institutes in New Zealand and helping to turn it into new products and services that are bringing about solutions to big global challenges. So everything from climate change, food production, environmental sustainability, through to new technologies in the market that are going to help improve people's lives through human health and medical interventions and everything in between. So one of the reasons that I wanted to bring my work, what I'm doing, through to a wider audience through the TEDx, through TEDx, was because we're at a pivotal point in New Zealand where I think we need to get behind this as a nation, that we're in the middle of, and we're coming through a really difficult time where our economy has been really impacted by the pandemic. So if we think about in New Zealand in particular, where tourism makes up such a big part of our economy, that's been completely decimated by the pandemic. Alongside that, we've got a wonderful primary sectors which are at the core of our heritage. that are desperately trying to become more productive and to become more about developing more high value products and less about developing just volume. And the work that we do in our science and technology in New Zealand, for me, holds the key to driving our future prosperity. If we can harness more of our science to create new sectors, new products and services, new businesses, and enhance our existing sectors in New Zealand, not only will we be helping to change the world in positive ways, but we'll be helping to rebuild our economy as we come out of the pandemic. And that's also important for our young people. One of the other things that I'm really passionate about is bringing together this great science with entrepreneurship. That this science isn't going to get out into the world unless we sprinkle it with some of this magic, which we call entrepreneurship. And that is going to provide important opportunities for our young people. So we're going to need our next generation of entrepreneurs in New Zealand to help lead some of these things, to bring them out into the world, to create the new startup companies and create some new success that's going to diversify our economy and provide future opportunities for New Zealanders.
So James, tell me a bit about your Toastmasters contest journey, because you also achieved quite a lot the last year.
Well, Toastmasters contests, I think, is one of those things that we often just fall into. And we have a wonderful opportunity every year through all of the Toastmasters clubs to take part in competitions, and there's 4 of them. And I think the first one that I participated in was the evaluation contest. So when our club was looking for volunteers to take part in the contest, I put my hand up and said, yep, I'll get involved in that. That sounds great. So I got the chance to evaluate a guest speaker amongst my fellow competitors. And then the second contest I took part in was the international contest, which is probably the most prominent and important contest, where we give a speech on a general topic of our choosing. And I managed to make it, I think, through to the district final for the international contest last year. And then this year I've competed in the table topics contest, which is still ongoing. And again, I've got through to the district final for that one as well. And for me, the contests are just a really nice way of almost taking your speaking up to the next level. It's because it's competitive, it adds sort of that extra spark or that extra layer that makes it almost a little bit more exciting and a bit more important. And I think it's a good chance for all Toastmasters to have the opportunity to have external people come in and listen to them, to get some different feedback, and also to potentially progress and get the chance to speak and listen to other Toastmasters from other clubs. And I think people often surprise themselves that a lot of us in New Zealand, and not just in New Zealand, around the world, we have this sort of, imposter syndrome where we feel like we're not good enough, or we feel that we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. And I think I often see a lot of Toastmasters, when they take part in competitions, they surprise themselves at how well that they do and actually how capable they are. And so for me, the competitions is about giving yourself and trusting yourself to have that opportunity to perform at that level, and helping to break down some of those misconceptions that you have about yourself to build your confidence. So it's something that I'd really encourage all Toastmasters to have a go at, because in the end, you're doing it in a safe environment. We're all here to support each other, and it's a great experience.
Some of our listeners might have aspirations to do a TEDx talk. What was the process to take part in TedxRuakura?
Well, it's a big secret society, and you have to learn the secret handshakes first. No, just kidding. What the beautiful thing about the TEDx platform is it's become so popular in recent years, is that most of us, particularly those that love public speaking, have probably got a whole list of our favorite TED Talks that we love to watch. And so the TEDx and how it's different from TED is TEDx, the X means it's an independently run TED organisation. So we're quite lucky in New Zealand that we've got several TEDx groups that are dotted around the country. So here in Hamilton, we've got TedxRuakura, which is a particular suburb of Hamilton. And we're particularly lucky that the TedxRuakura group are very well organised and have a very, shall we say, robust structure and process for how they identify speakers and coach them through to be able to perform on the day. So how I got involved is I got nominated as a speaker. To this day, I still have no idea who actually nominated me, but I'm glad that they did, because it was a wonderful experience. But for any Toastmasters that want to get involved in TEDx and become a speaker, the best bet is to identify your local group and they will have a website. Get in contact with them and either get someone to nominate you or put yourself forward. And I think that the main thing is to have something, as the TED mantra is ideas worth sharing. So everyone has an idea that's worth sharing. And for me, it's about finding what that idea is and thinking about how you might be able to share that with other people and how that might resonate with a broader audience. What I got asked to do was to submit a short 2-minute video, which I recorded on YouTube and sent that into the TedxRuakura committee. They assessed that alongside all of the other speakers that have been nominated, and then I got selected for the 2020 event. And once I got selected, we got taken through a phenomenal coaching program. We had 3 wonderful coaches who took us through a whole load of structured methodology on how to put together a TED Talks, as well as coaching sessions, evolution talks on the way up to the big day. And it really was a wonderful experience. And our whole goal through the whole process was to have learnt our talk in a way where we got it to what they call happy birthday memory. So as much as all of us can sing happy birthday without thinking about it, and we can pick up the words at any point within the song, we had to know our 15-minute speech to the same level that we know how to sing happy birthday. And so there's a whole methodology behind the process that enables you to memorize a talk. And it's a really worthwhile experience because it's a very different way of developing and learning a talk that's probably quite different to how we do things in Toastmasters. So rather than writing things down, although we did write a draft script to start with, the way in which we evolved that script was to just speak it into a phone and listen to it back. So you're essentially verbalizing it as you're developing your content, listening to it back and using that as the process by which you memorize. So it was a very interesting process, but you end up with something that is more conversational and sounds like you're having a conversation with the audience rather than something that sounds like you've written a script, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and putting very complex content in a very simple way that anyone can understand it.
That's the key. You really want to be creating a message that is compelling to a general audience. So a lot of the way I often think about this, I work a lot with science and science communication, is how would I describe it to my grandmother? If my grandmother can understand it, then I've probably got it right. And the key thing with the TED Talk is you want to be carrying your audience all the way through those 15 minutes. So what's the promise? What's the thing that my audience are going to be taking away at the end? And how am I going to be taking them along that journey and giving them the little things that's going to keep them interested as we go through the talk? So there's all of that gets built into the structure and the coaching that enables us to create that compelling message, which hopefully has come across in my final talk.
What's also interesting is that I pick up the word coaching, while in Toastmasters we focus on peer mentoring. And it's also something that's explained in Toastmasters, the difference between coaching and mentoring.
Yeah, that's a really important distinction, that we very much empower people in Toastmasters to take charge of their own journey. And for me, the role of a mentor is guiding people and helping them to see things that they might not see, or sharing our own experiences that they can then learn from, rather than telling them exactly what to do in a specific way. Whereas the TEDx experience is very much saying, this is the recipe. This is how you construct a TED Talk. And we're going to coach you to be able to follow that recipe in a similar way that a tennis coach would coach their student or their protege to become a successful tennis player. The TEDx coaches are coaching us in the ways of the TED Talk to be able to construct a very compelling and memorable TEDx talk.
Yes, that's very interesting. So you are very much driven by passion for your field of knowledge. What are your future plans to get your message out to the world?
Well, there was so much work that got put into the TEDx talk. It was a wonderful experience, as I said. And so what I've ended up with is this gift, this tonga of this 15-minute talk that I've now got to memory, which I can pretty much recite in my sleep, which I probably sometimes do, much to my wife's dismay. And so for me now, I really want to be able to share that with a broader audience. My talk has just been put up on the TEDx platform, so I'm really excited about that. So at the moment, I'm now looking for other channels and other opportunities to be able to share the talk, so to be able to deliver it again. I'm speaking in a couple of weeks at a national science forum of year 12 going into year 13 students from around New Zealand, 120 students, and I'll be sharing my talk with them, because a big part of, I see my role and part of my passion is about inspiring young people to be able to follow this scientific journey, but not necessarily in just a way that means they're going to be working in a lab, which is really, really important, but saying that if you follow science, we actually need more people that are versed in science to become these entrepreneurs. They're going to create and bring these new ideas into the world. And so a big part of what I'm passionate about is inspiring the next generation to follow in those footsteps. And so I'm looking for new opportunities to be able to share my talk with a broader audience, particularly young people that are perhaps have an interest in science and want to follow in that pathway. Alongside that, I'm really keen to promote my talk now that it's up on the platform. I've just been doing a building your social media presence project as part of my Toastmasters pathway. So I'm doing the presentation mastery pathway. I'm currently completing my level 4, and I've just in the process of working on building my social media presence as a project for my pathway. And so as part of that, I'll be looking at how I can further share the content from my TED talk through that project. So I think that will be very important in terms of helping to raise awareness of this particular topic across New Zealand, particularly as we're looking to rebuild the economy as we come out of COVID-19.
Yes, I'm thinking just now, are you aware of the accredited speaker platform for Toastmasters?
That's probably something I should look into a little bit more.
Yeah. I think, I'm not sure, but I think you need to prove that you have given 25 speeches in front of a certain number of people, and then you can become part of the accredited speakers program. Yes. And that's also a good thing to have behind you when you do want to be a professional speaker.
That's a great suggestion. I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, James. I'm sure that many of our Toastmasters will be interested to know how can they up their game. What skills can they learn this year at Toastmasters that will help them in their careers, but also if they want to become professional speakers, how they can find different venues to hone that skill. Thank you very much for valuing your time and for being such an inspiration to the rest of us.
Pleasure speaking with you. Thank you.